The positive side of economic globalization is finely tuned in by many scholars living the black side. It is observed that economic globalization has some sort of relationship with the feminization. The economic globalization is augmented and apprehended by many scholars as the opportunity driver for the prosperity. But which sort of opportunity is guaranteed by the economic globalization is still a question. In the current lecture, we will unfold the relationship between economic globalization and feminization and how the industrialization has leading to the increasing feminization in different sectors. Moving to the Moving to the overview of the lectures, we'll start with global integration of labor markets, how integration of labor markets has happening in the overall world, and what is the basic difference between the internationalization and economic globalization. Then next, we'll enter into the concept called globalizing. The capital and labor has been increasingly globalizing in the economic globalization. So in that specifically we will deal with difference between hiring the woman and the feminization of work. So what's the difference between hiring the woman and feminization of work, which will clear the dilemma of you in the composition of work, and how the composition of work is leading to the feminization in some sectors. Then next we will enter into the concept called feminization and industrialization, where we will deal in detail how industrialization is leading to the feminization in three phases. Then next we will enter into the contemporary topic. If we see, it's very evident through the commonsensical observations that how global labors and local employers are interacting, how north prosperity is attracting south labors, and which is resulting in the misallocation of the resources and wealth and property, and it's also creating a deficit in the care services, majorly like child care or adult care or old care. So we'll start the lecture with the global integration of the markets. So labor markets has been increasingly becoming integrated with the globally. So due to upcoming of a concept called economic globalization and paced by the neoliberalization in the 1980s, the pace of labor markets becoming increasingly integrated to the global market is highly observed. Women are drawn into the workforce, leaving a segment alone. So, due to the integration of global markets, or due to integration of labor global markets, the women are largely drawn into the workforce because of raising of opportunities. But how inclusive are how the inclusiveness is the question. But some of the women in the allied groups are lucky enough to get the employment in the formal sector, while the unlucky segment of the women are left in the unorganized sector and informal sector, and highly suppressed or exploited with the concepts called subcontractualization and offshoring of the projects. Then subcontracts, offshoring, and sweatshops. Sweatshops are nothing but horizontally integrated firms which are located in the developing towns or underdeveloped cities, and are increasingly exploiting women because of their readiness to do work at the low cost, and absence of subcontractualization and offshore projects will leave out the expenditure on the side of firms by by decreasing the expenditure on the social security and hygienes of the workplace, and economic compulsion on the side of labors are becoming increasingly becoming very evident. Sorry, rephrasing the argument again. The economic compulsion on the side of labors has increasing the migration pace of the labor markets, and thereby increasing the global integration of the labor markets. And the economic compulsion is seen as the major improvement in the labor markets. Thereby it became easier to exploit the employees who are in large supply and less in demand, created by the multinational enterprises, and profit maximization of the on the part of contemporary multinational enterprises or any enterprises, private enterprises per se, has been increasingly, see, profit maximization is became highly synonymous with the reduction of labor costs. So the two major causes for exploitation of labor shown here is our economic compulsion and profit maximization on the part of employers. Employees are are degraded with the economic compulsion, and the employers are driven by the profit maximization, thereby creating non-standard employment with lower less net security benefit for the work provided for the workers, and with less hygienic working conditions, with no or less supply of water and toilets facilities. So this is how integrated integration of labor markets are happening in the global level. Next, moving to the difference between internationalization and economic globalization. See, internationalization is the concept of early capitalist phase, or early capitalist regime to be precise, and it involved the migration. The migration majorly, it involved majorly the migration of male laborers from the south to north. Example can be denoted in the form of indentured labor. Indentured labor are the Indentured labor are laborers who are in contract with the employers during the colonial phase. During the colonial phase, the British officials or the British employers or British traders made a contract with the local laborers of the different colonies like India, and the laborers are written. The agreement involves the employee and employer, and the employee are obliged to follow the orders of employers, and he can have absolute right over the laborers who are signed the contract of indentured labor, and they can be shifted to indigo cultivations in the South Africa or somewhere else, or some other colonies where they will exploit in very inhuman conditions, and providing very less or low wages with no or less social security benefits, and with or no accommodation provided. So that's the internationalization. Internationalization involves migration, but involves the migration of male members. But rather, economic globalization is the phenomenon of current phase of globalization, where gender or the where the gender, whether it's male or female or others, that influence the type of work they will do and the type of migration that occurs. So major, if you take the example of CATE services, the CATE services in the northern hemisphere is highly done by the southern women who are migrated due to the deficit created in the north, because the elite or the northern woman has rived the opportunities which are provided due to globalization, and thereby creating deficit of CATE services in the northern hemisphere, and the deficit is fulfilled by the southern laborers. But it also created imbalance in the form that when southern women laborers are migrated to the north, a deficit is also created in the southern hemisphere, which are not fulfilled by any other part of any other labor which are coming from any other part of the world. So economic globalization is indeed creating different magnitudes of problems, and different new problems per se. So we will deal with the north and south relationship in the further slides. Globalizing the capital and labor. See, globalization is not only limited to the capital now anymore. The labor also increasingly becoming increasingly globalizing. So, but they follow two different routes. Capital will run very fast towards the place where they can find cheap labor or economical labor, where they can minimize the cost of production and thereby increasing the profit. So capital will follow the places where they can yield high surpluses out of low cost, but rather labor will move to the place where he can find minimum wages. So capital is moving towards the place where it can find high surplus, but rather labor is moving to the place where he can find minimum wages. So they are following two different routes, but rather they are in the stream of globalizing. In the 21st century, women make up the largest share in the low wage works. Low wage works like assembling goods or case services, they will constitute maids or any services per se. So they will constitute highest share in the low wage category. So preference is evident. See, preference is highly given in the assembling goods, packaging, and case services. And it's also observed that many EPZs or economic export processing zones are also interested in employing women because they are ready to they are ready to lend their labor for very cheap or economical cost. But there is a strict difference between hiring the woman and feminization of job. See, many scholars who are in favor of economic globalization tend to say that the economic globalization has led to the increasing in the hiring of women, or the employment of women has increased, or the composition of employment of women has increased. But we need to differentiate between two things: hiring the woman and feminization of jobs. See, hiring women means how in the composition, into total composition of workforce, how much women are employed into the work in that workforce. Suppose if there is 100% of employment, 100% of workforce per se, then if the 50% is female share of the total workforce, and the 50 is constituted by the male, then it defines 50%. 50% is the hiring of the women. Women are hired in the 50% of the total share of workforce. But rather, feminization of jobs is very deeper concept where it involves political, social, and other different facets. Because feminization of jobs doesn't necessarily includes the composition, but rather it includes the increasing the stigma of women type works or female type works, like such as case services are. See, because of economic globalization, these stigma has been increasingly becoming very harder and tight because of deficit created in the other part of the world. So rather than distributing work between the men and women in the northern hemisphere, the deficit is cleared by the additional labor flow coming from the south. So the difference between hiring the woman and feminization of job is very important to understand. See, hiring the woman simply means the composition of women in the total workforce, but rather feminization of jobs refers to the concepts very wide, is very in very deep, because feminization is will define how increasingly the jobs are becoming feminized, how increasingly the jobs are allocate or preferring only for male, only for female, and leaving out male. See, it's not leaving out male, but rather some of the jobs are increasingly becoming reserved for female. And the type of jobs are very low wage type of jobs are highly becoming reserved for female workers. So that's a very problematic thing, because while male employees are employed in the higher income brackets, but females are increasingly becoming employed in the lower income brackets, thereby increasing the stigma of feminization again. And if we come to the concept of feminization and industrialization, how industrialization has leading to increasing of feminization. We see if before starting that, let us pose a question for ourselves. So if the cheap labor or economical labor is the one parameter, is the only parameter for the many corporates or business enterprises, then why can't a woman is employed everywhere? So this is the one of the greatest question posed by many scholars. But if see these phases, or these enlistment of phases, is only applicable in the feminized sectors like care, textile industries, or assembling good chains or supply chain industries, where the segment is very. See, this applies only to the industries where they employ low wage employees. So what how industrialization has increased in the feminization? So in the first phase of industrialization, both men and women are added to the work. But when capital intensive when the capital intensive machineries has risen in the second phase of industrialization, the old enterprises started to remove women from the workforce, while new entrants to the industries are started employing women into the sector. So balancing the both women and men at the same time. So if we see, we can take textile industry per se. In the first phase of development in the textile industry, both men and women are added to the work. But in the second phase, due to capital intensive, due to increase in the capital goods in the process of in the process of production, the the factories, old factories, which are in predominantly been there for a long period of time, has started to remove a woman from the employment, and started to employ more. Men are became more in proportionate, and new entrants to the industry has started to employ more women. In the third phase, women employment has increased very drastically, leading to deepening of the stigma of women work. See, some sort of works has been reserved for the women in the third phase, so thereby increasing the feminization. So industrialization has increasingly led to the feminization. It's one of the important analysis given by the Heidi. Then next, moving to the next slide. Yeah. How global labors and how the integration of global labors and local employers are happening. See, labor is coming from the other part, and the employers are the local employers. See, if we consider north and south example here, see, it's labors are migrating, not the capital. So capital. See, there are two types of works: inside works and the works which can only done in the site, and the works which can be distributed transnationally. So inside works requires a movement of labor, not the capital. But in the transnational distribution of work, it can facilitate both the movement of capital and both and labor. But in the transnational, so for clarity, let us consider two cases. So there will be two cases: inside inside production line, and there will be transnational production process. So in the inside production process, there will be no movement of work. See, the movement of work will not be possible, because if you consider the example of K services, CADE, so it's not possible to it's not possible to send a child to the southern hemisphere of the world, because it simply we can't provide child care services. But rather, we'll employ women from the we will employ migrant labor who are coming from the south to satisfy the needs of the global north. So the movement of labor is happening in the inside type of works. In the transnational type of works, the capital has to move towards the place where it can find economical labor, and or where it can find lower cost of production, where it can meet higher economic surplus, or where it can extract higher economic surplus. So tempted. So why south laborers are tried, or why south laborers try to migrate to north? See, the migration happens because of two or three reasons, and one major reason cited by many scholars are because of northern prosperity. See, because of northern prosperity, many south laborers who are in the many south women laborers who are in the absolute poverty will be tempted to migrate to north for having a higher standard of living. So they will start to migrate to the north. So while migrating to the north, there will be a misallocation takes place. See, the elite women who are educated highly, and they can get a formal job easily, because opportunity is provided very widely by the economic globalization. See, if we consider generally, we can accept that opportunities has been increased due to globalization, but we can't say in totality. See, if we consider, it directs us to the concept called formal equality, where Peter Sanders says that if everyone provided with the equal opportunities, that doesn't mean everyone lands up in the same situation. So it's quite fits into the concept like this. See, if north and south are provided with equal resources, that doesn't mean everyone lands up in same situation. That doesn't mean north laborers and south laborers are lands up in similar situation, because the economic compulsion, social factors, political factors, and the society is highly influential in making up of any man per se. There are exceptions in every case, but those are exceptions. We can't say in totality. So on the one part, elite women in the northern hemisphere will tend to go for formal works, thereby creating a deficit in the care services like child care, old parent cares. So that deficit is started to fill in by the laborers who are migrated from the south, majorly women laborers who are migrated from the south, thereby increasing the stigma of female type of works or something. Because if elite northern hemisphere women want if elite persons in the northern hemisphere can divide the works among women and women, and they can abolish the stigma. But due to the high works pressure posed in by the economic globalization, there will be no time left for the both men and women to carry on the care services. So thereby they'll tend to approach the concept. They will tend to approach the laborers who are migrated from the south to fill in the deficit provided. So thereby creating misallocation between elite formal. So elites are employed in the formal sector, and south migrate women migrated labor will be employed in the care services of the families of elite person, thereby creating. So these create deficits in the southern region because women are migrated from the south to north, thereby creating the deficit services in there. But however, there will be a fund flow from the north to south because they will be getting some decent amount, but the status of work is very low. Because in the south, when women are working in as a lawyers, nurse or something, they will tend to work as a maid in the northern hemisphere. They may yield higher income, but not any amount of not any amount of financial flow can can satisfy the need of a child or child care who can very well nurtured by the mother. So deficit is very well established in the southern region due to the migration of women from the south to north. And so there will be a care deficit in the south. So this is how economic globalization has leading to the uh, misallocation and deficit in care services. So thank you for listening so patiently. Thank you.